Good.
All righty, you guys. Hello, hello, welcome. We waited just a couple more minutes since some folks were parking and walking over, but we'll get started to honor your time. Welcome, juniors, class of 2027. Isn't that kind of wild to say 2027? It's so strange. Even 2026 is still not registering quite yet, but here we are, 2027. Congratulations, here we go. This is a juniors college planning night. My name is Stephanie Fremstad. I'm one of the counselors at the Studio campus. So I serve students' last names A through K. And over here we have.
I'm Brian Deist. I'm the other counselor here at the Studio campus. I have last names L through Z.
And my name is Henry Cedres. I'm one of the high school counselors at the PL campus, and I handle last names A through K. Not here with me is typically Miss Monica. She handles L through Z for last name.
Alrighty, so hopefully you guys all grabbed a packet when you walked in. That'll kind of correlate to our presentation today. Oh, it's not letting me go. Why aren't we moving? There we go. All right, you guys. So if you have your phones with you, please go ahead and just before we start, go ahead and scan these two QR codes. We want to make sure you have access to this pretty quickly here. So you'll see one is the actual QR code for this presentation. So you'll have it afterwards. And then the one right next to it is a QR code for resources. So a lot of this is going to be similar to that printed packet in front of you. But again, we just want to make sure you have access to it right after this. And if you want to share with friends and whatnot, please feel free to do so. We'll post it to Schoology tomorrow as well for our juniors, but just so you guys have access. So go ahead and scan those two for me so you have access to that. You'll notice the first page of your packet, it says College Planning for Rising Seniors. So this is kind of our overview for today. We'll camp out going through preparing for the year. We'll touch on, good old SAT, ACT info. We'll talk about overall applications. We'll touch on financial aid just a sec. And then we'll also kind of review the big day. May 1st each year is College Decision Day. That's like a national day. And so we'll kind of talk about the importance of that too and the excitement for that. But go ahead. I'm going to move on to the slide. So go ahead, get those QR codes scanned so you have the presentation and resource page. I'll move on just a second since I see a few more scanning away there. All right, good. I'm going to move on there. Okay, so again, senior year, so this is directly to my juniors, right? What are we going to be doing? So we're going to be going over the actual college planning timeline. We're going to touch on graduation requirements because we need to make sure we're good to go with that and review that quickly. Also, A through G requirements. Most of you should know what that means, but we're going to review it just to ensure that's kind of on your radar. Again, SAT and ACT, we'll review that. We'll review the types of colleges you can be looking at. Hopefully you're in a position now where you're looking at options available to you. That's kind of our goal in the counseling realm, is to ensure that you have options available. And so as we kind of pursue your high school career, that's always our message to you, to have those options available. So we'll talk about types of colleges. And then of course, we're going to touch on trades and careers as well, and a little bit of the military too. Okay. All right, we'll pass it off for grad requirements.
All right, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this one. Hopefully you saw this recently when we were doing course selections. It's just a reminder that before you can go to college, you have to graduate from high school. So make sure you're meeting all of these requirements, including the one at the bottom of community service that we'll mention here in a little bit. So just be checking on that. Yeah. So I'll say it with A to G. So community service hours, just realize you have to have 37.5 community service hours for each year you're a student here at classical. So make sure you're getting that for a total of 150 if you're here for all 4 years. Once you have completed all 150, you will print out the form for that in your cohort page and complete it and turn it into Miss Jen in the counseling office. But don't turn it in until you have all 150 hours. Seniors were scrambling to get that done today, so you have time, but take care of that sometime in the next year. And then A to G requirements, most of you have seen this already. This is just beyond the graduation requirements. These are requirements for the public universities in California. There are two types of public universities in California: the University of California schools and the California State University schools. So UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, Cal Berkeley for the UCs, and then Cal State's, Cal State San Marcos, San Diego State University at Cal State, Cal State LA, Dominguez Hills, San Bernardino, Fresno State, Chico State, and then also the Cal Poly schools. So Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Cal Poly Pomona, and Cal Poly Humboldt. Those are all California State Universities as well. These A to G requirements show you what they require students to take in high school. So if you're considering any of those public universities in California, you have to meet these requirements. Okay, very important for most all of those schools. If you do not meet these requirements by the end of your senior year, they will not accept you into their college. They won't even look at your application. Okay, and then please note at the bottom that for these, it says you have to have a C or higher to meet each of these requirements. Okay, so most of the time you get a D. It's not great. None of you get Ds because you're good students. But if you do get a D, you still pass the class. You get credits for it. However, if you're trying to meet these requirements for the public universities in California, you have to get a C or higher for each of these A to G requirements, or you need to retake the class or take a different class to meet that requirement. Okay. If you have any questions about that, please talk to your counselor or one of us in the counseling office, and we can help you with that. Other colleges have different requirements, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what colleges are looking for. You'll notice some of the ones on here are recommendations for the UC schools and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, because those tend to be harder to get into than the other ones. So they're going to recommend you go even beyond these requirements here. Okay. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, we just found out recently, they're even upping it more. They're saying, we want you to take, we recommend, we don't require, but we recommend that you take 5 years of English. So you need to pick up another English class somewhere, like through community college, or another one at school, like the new Great Books class, for example. Okay. And they say we're recommending even more than some of these, like another year of math beyond what's recommended on here. In general, we recommend that you do more than the minimum requirements. Okay, realize that when you're applying to colleges and when you're applying to jobs, generally speaking, you are competing with students at other schools and at our school that have done more than just the bare minimum requirements. Okay. Typically, people aren't looking for the good enough student who just barely squeaked by and did exactly what they had to do and nothing more. Okay, so our recommendation is always push yourself as much as you can every year of high school. Okay, within reason. Okay, don't run yourself into the ground, but make sure you're pushing yourself as much as you can academically each year based on your abilities and your other involvements and so on. Okay.
And moving forward into the college planning timeline over this next year. So we have the fall, we have the winter and the spring. And in that fall semester, you're really noticing that that semester is really meant for those college applications, right? Really making sure that you're narrowing down your list. I know a lot of our students here at Classical, we do have students that want to apply to 20, 25 different colleges. We always encourage our students, try to get that down to 5 to 10 colleges in that fall semester. That way it makes it a little easier when we're making that decision in the spring, right? Because the fall, we're doing our applications, the spring, we're making that decision. Fall also, visit campuses. Make sure you're going out and visiting these UCs, CSUs, out-of-state schools, private schools, making sure that you're putting in the time to do that, because it is like, you will notice that when you want to go visit a campus, they do have timelines and they do have specific dates that do fill up. So we do recommend to go ahead and start making those reservations rather quickly. In that fall semester, you're also going to be completing the FAFSA. So just make sure that you're having that submitted, especially for those scholarships and to apply to those 4 universities. So that will go on until they usually give us sometimes different deadlines. These last few years have been very interesting with the FAFSA, but typically it's around December 2nd. Now, in relation to what that leads us in the winter, that's when you're going to go ahead and request those high school official transcripts. So you're going to be doing that via parchment, which we're going to go over in a little bit. But again, continue to make sure you're doing your 4-year application processes. And then in the spring, if you're going to a Palomar or Maricosta, if you see yourself going into a community college, this is where the deadlines happen. So if you see yourself going down that route, make sure you have that. We always say apply anyway. You never know what's going to happen. You truly never know. So make sure you get those applications in for either the Palomar, Maricosta, local community college. And ultimately at that spring, that's like we said, you're going to make that decision and you're going to put that enrollment deposit down. Moving forward into the ACTs and the SATs. So this has been a question that's been coming up a lot. Obviously, there's been a lot of sayings about what does it mean that the school is no longer taking the ACT or the SAT. There's a couple things here. There's test blind and there's test optional. Test blind is simply what it sounds like. They're not looking at the SAT or the ACT for your admission, whereas test optional, you can still apply with that SAT or that ACT score, and they can consider it within your college application. So just look out for those two. Now, and how they relate in one another. Which one's better? Which one's better for college applications? They're seen as equal. There is just a slight differential within the ACT. The ACT does have a science component to it. And it's also been stated that the questions can be a little more straightforward, but in essence, they also have a little more questions involved as well. The ACT has a 1 to 36 scale. So you'll see 1 to 36. And then for the SAT, you'll see a 0 to 1600. Okay. And then SAT, by the way, it stands for Scholastic Aptitude Test. For so long, I thought that meant Standardized Assessment Test. It's Scholastic Aptitude Test, and I learned that in like a Jackbox game. Just a fun fact. We do recommend that students start to take the SAT and the ACT by basically now. So most of us are juniors here. So in that spring semester of the junior year, all the way through December. So not till the end of the fall, right? Because at the end of the fall it goes into January. So making sure that we have that your final submission by December. So just keeping that in mind. Okay. And then one other thing I really want to discuss as well, there are fee waivers involved with SATs and ACTs as well. So make sure that you're going to College Board and seeing that fee waiver. It's about $68 each time. And depending on where you are in life, that could be a lot of money. So making sure that you're checking College Board and then also speak to your school counselor too, because we may have some resources for fee waivers as well. Okay. Types of colleges. So this is one of my favorite parts of the presentation, really. So we have the specialized colleges, we have the 2-year colleges, and then we have the 4-year colleges, right? For specialized colleges, what you're seeing is a lot of trade schools, business schools, Bible colleges, even like Pima. Pima is right across the street from Cal State San Marcos, and they offer a medical assistant program, a dental assistant program, a little bit different in essence. But I'm going to go over like just the primary advantages and some disadvantages. So obviously going to a specialized college, it's great if you know exactly what you want to do, right? If you're going to Pima, for example, and you want to be a dental assistant, a medical assistant, that's great. You've figured out the one thing that you want to do, but just realize that comes with limitations, right? That comes with, okay, this is exactly what I want to do, but there's a limitation that comes with that, and that's the one thing you can do when you're there. For the next one, we have the 2-year community colleges. Community college has been on the uptick. It's been I think a lot of my conversations that I'm having with students right now, they're saying, I'm going to go to a 2-year community college and I'm going to crank it out my 2 years and then I'm going to transfer to another school. And then I'm going to get it all for free. Amazing. That's an amazing program. We couldn't encourage it more. It's amazing. But there is a setback that also comes with that. In essence, I've been attending conferences lately, and I have been noticing that a lot of the 4-year universities, UCI, UC Los Angeles, San Diego State, they require prerequisite courses, right? So for some majors like, I don't know, computer science, engineering, if we're talking about high-level biologies, they may offer some prereq courses that you can't take till you get there, right? So we do the CalGETC program, which is the transfer program from Palomar, Maricosta Community College. But then we have to do the prereqs, right? So that can put you a little bit further as far as like graduation, could take 4 years, it could take 5 years, 4.5 years. So just acknowledging that, but I think relating to cost and how much you're going to save in the long run could be worth it. Obviously now the next one would be the 4-year colleges. The biggest advantage that comes with going to a 4-year college, getting a 4-year degree, is the flexibility that you have while you're there. Obviously, going to a 4-year university, you're going to get the college experience that comes with it. But you also have a variety of different majors while you're there. As an example, I went to college. I came in, wanted to be a dentist. So I wanted to get a bio degree. Decided I don't like biology. Then I went to kinesiology. Did kinesiology for a bit, didn't like it. Went to psychology, and I ended up graduating with a psychology degree. So there's some flexibility that comes with a 4-year program. Obviously, different schools have different requirements, different needs, but it's just something to keep in mind. And then a disadvantage, obviously, with the 4-year college, it could be the cost. The ultimate cost that comes with attending a 4-year university right away, depending on where you're going. It's important to just realize, and I'll go into a little bit more into a later slide, but those are some just advantages and disadvantages.
Here, keep the extra microphone. Okay, so we're going to touch on a little bit more with the community college. We're going to break down the colleges here. So with community college, Mr. Henry kind of touched on it already. Obviously, there's a lot of advantages and some disadvantages too, but one of the most excellent advantages that we really like to promote to our students is this, you'll see on the screen, Promise program. So this is offered on a first come, first served basis. Essentially what it is it can allow a student to have up to their first 2 years of tuition covered at a community college in California. So for our local colleges, right, we promote Palomar and Maricosta because they're local to us. So you'll see Palomar Promise right there. It's free to apply to. It is, as it says, first come, first served basis, but essentially how you would apply for it, right, is you would apply to go to Palomar come your spring of your senior year. You would then apply for financial aid, which all students do regardless. And then you would submit what they call for Palomar is their Palomar Promise application. And so in order to be eligible for that, you need to be a resident of California, which you would at that time. You need to be 18 years old, which you likely would be at that time, and be a full student, so taking up to about 12 units in the fall. So a fantastic resource just to like manage overall college debt, right? Something to think about. And, you know, I loved Mr. Henry's example of exploration in college, right? So community college allows a little bit more flexibility at that price point to explore different things and interests for whatever degree pathway you may be wanting to go to. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility in that regard. Also, something to note right now is you as juniors, and really actually it's available to all of our students, but we typically say sophomores, juniors, and seniors to do this, is to take advantage right now of concurrent enrollment. So what this means is you can take a community college class as a high school student right now at the community college for free as a high school student. So there is a process in order to do that, and maybe some of you have already explored that, but essentially it allows you to potentially get high school credit done and earn college credit. And so we like to have conversations with you if that's something you're interested in. One, because we want to make sure what you're taking is legitimate, and we'll support you both for high school and for 4-year planning. So to transfer to a college, a 4-year college, with that class you're taking at the community college level. But we also just want to make sure it's the right fit, because anytime you're starting a community college class, you're starting an actual college class, you're starting a college transcript. So we do want to be mindful of that balance and knowing if that's a right placement for you. But for some students, it's a really good way to kind of get into the college system and start experiencing that. We have a lot of juniors and seniors who do that currently and like to get ahead in that. So it's a fantastic option. But if you're looking at doing directly community college after high school, we would highly advise looking into the Promise program, okay? And then we also want to touch on something really neat with the community colleges is the University of California Transfer Admission Guarantees. This is also known as the TAG program. So definitely explore it. You'll see we've linked it there for you. You guys should all have the presentation available to you since you scan that QR code. please take a look at that. Essentially, these 6 UCs have partnerships with California community colleges to offer students the opportunity of potential guaranteed admissions. And so there's a process with that, but these are the 6 UCs that have said, yes, we want to partner with the community colleges in this way. And so oftentimes students are taking at least, I would say, about a year and a half into work of at the community college before being able to transfer and do that. But it essentially allows you the potential to have that guarantee into a UC. So for many students, this is a huge opportunity because, you know, perhaps financially it's not the best decision to go directly to a UC out of high school, or maybe you're just not sure what you want to do necessarily for a degree. This gives you that opportunity to have that guarantee of, yes, I want to go to one of these 6 UCs, but also I'm going to work slowly towards that goal in terms of, you know, knocking out some courses at the community college and saving on that price point too. So if anything else, remember TAG program, that's for the UCs in partnership with California community colleges, okay? And it is linked for you guys there too, so you can look at that later. And then do I have any potential, by the raise of hands, college athletes? Are you thinking about playing sports in college? Anybody? Anybody? You? Okay, great, fantastic. So 2 things we want to just make you aware of, and you'll see another QR code there. Feel free to scan just to take a look at it. NCAA and NAIA, both are organizations that partner with college athletes to kind of, you know, support them as they choose which school you want to go to and play to what division. It's important now though, and this is why we kind of want to put it on your radar. They have basically a sign up for that for the NCA. It's an eligibility center. So you sign up as a student now in order to ensure that you have all the documentation and courses you need to be able to apply to whatever college you're going to go to and play sports in. And there are different divisions with that too, similar with NAIA. So if you have questions about that, please come see us. We want to make sure you have accounts set up with that come your now going into senior year for sure. You want to have accounts set up for that, especially if you're looking to play, you know, at the college level. So did you guys scan that? I see a few still scanning, so I'll wait. So you have that. Okay. I think, all right, other college visits. So we have.
All right. Kind of going back into our previous conversation regarding college visits, do some of that preparation work, make sure that you're looking ahead of time. They do fill up. But I also want to just acknowledge something too. If you are considering going into a out-of-state school, right? If you're looking to go into a school, let's say on the East Coast, let's say you're thinking about Boston University, Boston College, somewhere out east, maybe Connecticut, right? I was there. That was my position. It's hard to fly out there. It's expensive, right? And so they do have virtual tours. They have done a great job of creating virtual tours that allow you to see what it's like to be on campus. And then they like created little things where you can click through and you can be on the campus too. It's really cool. So just acknowledge that there are virtual options for that. And then we would highly recommend that you visit classes while they're in session. Personally, I think you should go within the first 2 weeks of school being in session. Why do I say that? Because that's when a lot of clubs, organizations are going out and promoting themselves. That's when you're going to see the most life within the campus. So I really recommend that. And then it's also great if you're really trying to figure out a school to go in the fall and the spring. Why? If you're going out of state, you may like Boston in the spring a little bit more than in the fall. So it's good for you to just understand that. And then when you do take a campus tour as well, just making sure you're asking the questions that you have in mind. What's the population like? What are my students like? What are the involvements that I can get involved in? What's your alumni program like? Those are great questions to ask just because those are things that are going to set you up for your future, honestly. Okay, so, and obviously take some photos, take some notes, make sure it fits you. Okay, ultimately you want to go to a campus that fits your culture, fits your vibes.
Hey, just add.
Yeah.
Thanks. If I can just add, couple of things. One is, Mondays and for studio students, Fridays are a great time to visit because you don't have to worry about missing classes at school, but you're seeing those colleges in session. And like Ms. Henry said, it can get expensive to visit ones that are farther away. So taking advantage of the virtual tours. Another good option that students like to use is maybe hold out until senior year during spring break to visit colleges that are farther away, because by then you know if you've been accepted and if it's a college that you're still considering. And it's still a month before you have to make your final decision on May 1 if you want to go there. So that's a good time to visit. And then also, before we made this slide, we did add in the QR code with all the handouts. It's not one of the handouts you have with you, but there is one in the stuff that you can access electronically. There's one on college visits that has a list of some of the questions that Mr. Henry was mentioning, and also some other ideas for how to make the most of a college visit. So check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then going back into we touched on this a little bit, but selecting that college, right? Selecting a college that's right for you. So there's a few things that you should be considering, right? It should be your location, it should be the cost, it should be, hey, does it even have my major and learning environment? Those are all huge things for you, and I'm going to give an example as to why. I had a student didn't go in state, it was out of state. She was so sure she wanted to go to Berkeley. She's like, Berkeley is calling my name and I'm out of state. Does anyone know how much Berkeley is if you're an out-of-state student? Wait, yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I think it would cost her after room and board. It cost her about $70,000 for the year. Okay, so she went to Berkeley. She went there. She was like, "Great, I'm here. I'm a Berkeley student." She realizes by day one that people have already read all the books in class. And I was like, "How is that possible?" And then realized that the environment was not for her. And then ended up going to community college the year after, $70,000 in debt. Right? So already happening, right? So this is a conversation that you really need to have with yourself. Is the setting right for me? Are the people around here right for me? These are things that you should be asking during your campus tours. Another thing is regarding your scholarships. I just want to touch on, I know we're going to touch on scholarships a bit. But some students will come up and be like, Mr. Henry, I got a $100,000 scholarship. I'm like, cool, where are you going? University of San Diego. University of San Diego, $60,000 a year. Do the math. It's $240,000. You got a $100,000 scholarship that the school issued you. So you're still paying roughly $140,000 for school. So it's important to consider those factors when selecting a college. Another one, weather. We're spoiled here. You have some of the best weather in the world. You just came here and it was probably around 70 degrees. So if you're considering going to a school in, let's say, Minnesota, it's going to be very different. So just keeping stuff like that in mind. And then obviously your major, making sure that you're going to a school with a program that's best fitting for your major. For example, right, if you go to a UC school, they're a little bit more lab-based, more hands-on focused, right? A CSU school is a little more theoretical, so you're going to be doing a lot more paperwork. So just those are things that you want to keep in mind when applying to a four-year university. And then I think that's the main ones there. What
I
anyone?
think you should flip flop that
What?
between the Cal States and the UCs.
Yeah.
UCs are more research-based, theoretical, and Cal States are more the professional.
Oh, okay. I thought I flipped them up. My bad. My bad. Thank you.
Do research.
Do your research at the end of the day. And then here's some resources to do some research. Is it me? Yeah, it's me. Okay. So these are just some of the recommended websites that you're going to see on that paper there. You're going to see sites that related to ROTC. So if you are looking to go to a school via a ROTC scholarship, so military affiliated, making sure that you're clicking on these links and learning more. It's also recommended, obviously, to speak to your high school counselor regarding that as well. But you're going to see resources in here regarding college searches, college rankings, SAT, ACT information, and financial aid information as well.
Can I highlight one other thing on there that I really like?
Yeah.
Sorry, this
Yeah.
net project. Very bottom, you'll see information about net price calculators. So if you want to get an idea of about how much it'll cost you out of pocket to go to a college, they are required to publish net price calculators on their websites, but they're not required to make them easy to find. So typically you want to Google the name of the school and net price calculator, put in some information about your family's financial situation, your grades, things like that, and it'll give you an estimate of how much it will actually cost you out of pocket. Hardly anybody is paying sticker price for colleges. Their sticker prices are insane. Okay, but some of them are going to make it a lot more affordable for you than others. To get an estimate before you start going through the process of applying and getting your heart set on it, you might want to check out and I can get an idea of how much it would really cost you to go to that college.
Absolutely. Okay. Good job. There you go.
All right. We're gonna spend a little bit of time on the next two that are in your handouts, just talking about college applications. So part of why we're doing this event tonight for you guys as juniors is so you can start thinking about applying to colleges and maybe even start working on your college applications during the summer when you have more time. Senior year can be a little crazy. I see all the parents nodding and tapping shoulders and things. So it's a really good idea, students. Your senior year, I hope it's going to be awesome for you. I believe it's going to be an awesome experience for you. But it does get a little crazy busy, and there's a lot of fun things that you don't want to miss out on because you're working on college applications. So we want to give you some of that information now so you can kind of at least be thinking about it and maybe even start working on some of this stuff. At the very top is some information about the applications for Classical Academy High School students. So most college applications are going to ask you for the grading system of your school. Ours is A, B, C, D, F. Those are the grades you get here. And then super important, if you forget everything else and remember this, I will be proud of you. All of our classes at Classical Academy High School are semester classes. All of your grades at Classical Academy High School are semester grades. Even studio students, if you complete them in one quarter. The grades you're getting are semester grades. If you put down that you're getting quarter grades at your school, they're going to expect you to have 4 grades. Remember in math that quarters means 4, right? So if you put quarter grades, they're going to be waiting for 4 grades and you're going to only put in 2 and they're going to be like, oh, they only took half the class. They still have to take the other half of the class. Put in semester grades, always semester grades, okay? GPA fit system is 4.0, even though some of your classes get put on the 5.0 weighting. Ranking, Classical Academy High School does not rank students, okay? Maybe the top few students will let you know your rank so you can use that in your college applications. But for the rest of you, it is to your advantage that we not rank you, okay? Because Classical Academy High School has really good students. And so you can be in the middle of your class and you report that to the college and they're like, oh, middle of their class, they're not that good of a student. At Classical Academy High School, if you're in the middle of your class, you're a good student. Okay, so we don't rank you because we don't want to hurt you when you fill out a college application. All right, how to apply. So most college applications, we're going to tell you about a few different ones, but for college applications, generally speaking, it's going to ask you a lot of the basic information, name, address, phone number, all that kind of school, what high school do you go to, all of that. Okay, they will be asking you probably for your GPA, and a lot of them are going to ask you to put in all the classes that you've taken in high school. To get that information, go on to Pathways. You can find a copy of your unofficial transcript on Pathways. That's going to be super helpful for you because that's going to have all of that information, including your GPAs and the class you've taken. Okay, some of them will ask for a transcript from us. All right, and we're going to tell you in a little bit how you can request that. But other ones like the UCs and Cal States are going to have you put in all of your classes that you've taken in high school and all of the grades that you got in them. Now, do not think that you can suddenly give yourself all A's and say that's what you should have gotten in the class or something like that. Because if you end up enrolling there, they are going to ask for your official transcript, sorry. And if it's something different from what you told them, then you're not going to be welcome there anymore, okay? So make sure you're honest about it. But for those applications, it's going to be a little tedious because you have to put in all of your classes and grades. Pretty much all applications are going to ask you for your senior classes, your senior schedule. Okay, so for those of you who maybe picked an easy schedule next year thinking, oh, they're not going to see those classes anyway, they're going to see those classes anyway. It's going to be one of the first things they see on your application. So please continue to push yourselves academically through your senior year. 1, because they're going to see your classes on your application, kind of first thing. Okay, but 2, all of the research that's been done shows that students who continue to push themselves through senior year of high school do better in college and into their futures. Okay, so I know you've worked hard as a junior and good for you and you deserve a break during the summer. But during the school year, please continue to push yourselves. Okay. All right. So check colleges' websites to see how to apply. Okay. UCs have their own application. Cal States have their own application. Many colleges will accept the Common App. Okay. And you'll see all that information at the bottom, how you can access all of those. And each of those is a different type of application. A lot of colleges just have their own application. Okay. So you just have to look at the college you're applying to, see what they require you to fill out for the application, and follow those directions. Make sure you are completing the applications on time. They have all different deadlines. Okay. When people ask us questions about colleges in the United States, so what do colleges in the United States, when are the deadlines? The answer is almost always it depends, because they all have different deadlines, different application requirements, different costs to apply. They each set up their own plans for all of that, or their own ways of doing those things. So you have to check each college to find out and make sure that you're meeting their deadline, whenever that might be. Okay, request an official transcript from parchment.com. We'll look at that in a moment, if required. Okay, again, if you're applying to UCs and Cal States, you will not request a transcript until you enroll at the end of the year. So that's something you'll be doing next year at this time. Other applications, you do need to request an official transcript to be sent. Number 4, request recommendation letters if needed. Okay, some people assume I need letters of recommendation. Not necessarily. If you're going to UC or Cal State, for example, you will not be able to turn in letters of recommendation. Okay, they won't even look at them. All right, so it depends on the college. You need to check the individual colleges you're applying to and find out if they require recommendation letters. If you're applying to any colleges that do require recommendation letters, find people who can write you a good recommendation letter. Okay, so check who they're requiring it from. They might ask for teachers or counselors, youth pastors, adults who know you well. Just depends on the college. Okay, so see who they ask for you to get the recommendation letter from, and then ask very nicely if a person will write your recommendation letter. It is also a very fair thing to ask a teacher, do you feel like you could write me a positive letter of recommendation, or do you think I should ask somebody else? That's a fair question. Okay. Also, think about when you're asking for letters of recommendation, find teachers who can write specific things about you. Okay, for our recommendation letters, colleges aren't looking for, oh, they're a great person and a really good student. They want to hear examples of how you're a great person and a really good student, right? So think about teachers who have seen you maybe in multiple areas, right? So maybe in, drama, or maybe a coach and the teacher, maybe, seeing you in a more challenging class, or maybe one where you did kind of extra projects, or you talk to that teacher about the class outside of class. So think about those things where, what teacher can really talk about me in kind of concrete ways. Okay. And make sure you give them at least 2 weeks to write a recommendation letter. Okay. Make sure you're on top of that. Number 5, if a personal essay is required, there are some recommendations for how to do that, and a really, really good website to help you write a great personal essay. Okay. Not all colleges require personal essays. Again, if you are applying to a Cal State, you will not have to write anything really. Okay. You're not writing any essays. UCs have what are called personal insight questions. They are not a personal essay. Okay. They're personal insight questions. There are 8 questions. You choose 4 of them, and they're like interview questions. Okay. So they're not looking for you to write all fancy. Okay. If you were interviewing me for a job, I would not say, well, to quote my favorite author, I like to think of the sky as being the old, right? That would be weird, right? So personal essay might be looking for more writing style, but personal insight questions, they want to get to know you. Okay, so you're talking about I, me, my, you are not talking about your grandparents or anything like that. You're talking about yourself. Okay, by the way, this is a good time to throw in. We're going to be doing a lot of workshops for you guys next fall, especially, where we're going to go through helping you with some of these applications, especially the UC application. There are also some ideas down here where you can get more information, but we will be helping you with this more. But if you have questions about that and want to get some of that information early, please let us know. Okay. So for the personal essay, find out if your colleges that you're applying to require it, first of all, and then use that website. Highly recommend that to be able to write the best letter of recommendation. Down below, by the way, I just throw in one more thing about personal essays and the personal insight questions. Be yourself, okay? You guys so often don't realize how amazing you are. You compare yourselves against other people, okay? And you don't realize some of the things that make you unique are the things that people want to hear about, okay? So when you're answering the personal insight questions, when you're writing a personal essay, don't write what you think they want to read. Write what you care about. Like I always think about, you know how you have some teachers who are so passionate about their classes, right? They're clearly not just phoning it in. You can tell they just care. And how that affects you, right? You're more interested in what they're teaching because they care, right? Same thing is true when people are reading your answers to these questions. If you care about it, that's going to show and it's going to make it way more interesting. You have to realize the people are grading these, who are looking at these essays and reading your answers to these personal insight questions. They're reading thousands of these. If you write what they want to hear, they're going to fall asleep. They read those all the time. But if you write about something that you care about, that's going to show and it's going to make it more interesting to them. All right, I'm going to let that go. All right, on the back side, so again, you can look through some of those types of applications there. And then I just want to finish here about the types of admissions. Sometimes you hear about early decision, early action, blah, blah, blah. You can read down below some of the pros and cons of different ones. Just realize that early decision means that you are making a decision early. Okay, you are allowed to apply to one college early decision, and there aren't a ton of colleges that even have that option. But if you are accepted, you are expected, you have made a decision to go there. And if you change your mind, there are financial penalties for that. Okay, versus if you apply early action, you're just taking action early. So they may have an earlier date, like in November, early December, where you can apply early action. That just means you're applying earlier than their final deadline, and you're finding out earlier if you've been accepted. But you haven't made any decisions yet. So you still have until May 1 to make your final decision to go there. Okay, so really important to realize the difference of those. Single choice early action, very few colleges have this, but just single choice. You're only allowed to apply that way to one college. But again, it's early action. You're not making a decision early, so you just find out early if you've been accepted, but you still have until May 1 to make your decision. Regular decision. Probably most colleges are regular decision. They have a deadline, like the UCs and Cal States. Their application deadline is November 30. For most of those colleges, not all of them, but for most of them, if you apply at 12:01 on December 1, 12:01 a.m., they're not looking at it. Okay, they have a very strict deadline of midnight on November 30. Sometimes it's a different date depending on what day of the week November 30 falls on. Okay, but these colleges, they have a regular decision date, and then they have a regular time that they notify you. The thing that drives us crazy about UCs and Cal States is they have one of the earliest deadlines, November 30. That's pretty early compared to most colleges. And you have to wait until March or April to find out if you've been accepted there. Okay, so just realize that some colleges do it that way, and when they notify you, it just depends. But the UCs and Cal States, you have to wait a long time. Other colleges have rolling admission. I worked at a college that had a rolling admission. It just means that we'd have different times where we would read through college applications of students and make decisions. So we met at the college I was at every 2 weeks to make decisions on applications. So there are some students who had turned it in the day before we made our decision. They found out within a week if they had been accepted. Okay. Other ones, if we, put off the meeting for a couple of weeks, then they had to wait a few weeks to find out if they've been accepted. So it just depends on the college. Okay, but just the important thing to know is that if you apply early decision, you're making a decision early. Financial penalties if you change your mind. For all the other ones, you have until May 1 to make your final decision of where you want to go. All right, a little scholarship information. You can look through this on your own. Just notice at the top, it says that most scholarship money comes from the colleges you apply to. Okay, so you're going to be working on that next year when you're working on college applications. So just make sure you're checking for the college you apply to, what's available to you for financial aid, including scholarships at that college. Those are the ones you're going to have the best shot at getting in many cases, because you're only competing with students who are going to that college. To find other scholarships that are available to you, Mr. Henry does a great job of keeping our CAHS scholarship postings updated. Okay, so you'll want to be checking that. Most of the ones that we post on there are going to be local, which means you have a lot better chance of getting those. So those are going to be a lot more worth your time than the ones where, you know, if you have a 2.0 and a heartbeat and you live in the United States, you can apply. My recommendation to you is do not apply for those. That is a waste of your time. It is not worth applying unless you've started your own business and have saved lives through your cancer research. You are not going to win one of those generic scholarships. Okay. But if you can find something that's just for San Diego County, or something that's just for the major you're interested in, okay, something that narrows it down more, then those can be worthwhile. But those really generic ones, again, we recommend you don't waste your time. The internet, so you can find some websites there if you do want to look for different scholarships. Again, most of those probably are not worth applying for, but that's your call. Local scholarships, we have a cool thing for San Diego County, sdfoundation.org, where it shows you scholarships that are available to students in San Diego County, and some of them are even more specific to North County or Escondido schools or things like that. So those are worth checking out. And a lot of them have a common application where you fill out one application and you can use it for whatever local scholarships on that website that you want to. So that's definitely worth checking out. And then just check with employers, you know, parents, grandparents, even sometimes. If you check with your employers for scholarships that may be available. For those who've been in the military, make sure you check on that, because there's a lot of money that's available to you for your students for college that way. And then any clubs, organizations, you know, check with your church, check with the Rotary Club. You know, you have a grandpa who's an Elks Club member or something like that. Just check into that kind of stuff. Okay. If there's something that's somehow specific to you and your family, those are definitely worth checking into and applying for. Okay. Do weigh the cost of the time and stress that applications for these scholarships are going to be for you. You know, parents, be nice. Your kid's doing a lot of stuff during the school year, especially with school, and a lot of those applications, you know, spending hours on an application for maybe getting a $250 scholarship probably is not worth it. Okay. But again, if you can find something that's specific to you in some way, then those can be worth it. Watch out for scholarship scams. There are ones out there that'll be like, hey, if you pay $50, we will guarantee you that you'll get one of these scholarships if you fill out the applications that we send to you. Well, they're going to send you 100 applications, and they're going to require proof that you filled out all 100 before they give you your money back. Okay, so any that charge money, feel free to check with one of us if you want us to check on that. But most of those are not worth it. Okay.
Sorry, can I just add something?
Please.
Yeah, guys, just recently, in the last couple of weeks, there was a scholarship that this had put out, and this was the only student that applied. I had one student, this full scholarship, only one student applied, the student at our campus. She just got $2,000 because she was the only one that applied.
Right.
So when we say people are not applying to scholarships, there's money being left on the table by business, companies, organizations that are just leaving them there. Please apply. You never know. You truly don't. And you're going to be helping your family out a lot by just simply doing that. Mom gave me a nice thank you letter. You're welcome. So just so you guys know, like, you know, when you graduate, you're 18 years old, get your first job, you'll be making minimum wage. It takes you a while to get that $2,000. So just a heads up.
Yeah, and having said that, please don't think that there's hidden money out there, right? What Mr. Henry is saying is correct. That scholarship was advertised, right? We put it on our website. It was out there. So make sure you're checking those focusing on the ones that are more specific to you, like Vista, right? Where it's just for people in our area, where you have a lot better chance of getting it. So, okay. Oh, boy.
They didn't want me to stand up. Okay. So we've kind of touched on all things four-year colleges and some two-year things too. But we feel it is important to kind of touch on career pathways as well. And so potentially looking at military opportunities, trades or technical schools and certificates. So I want to touch on that here. So this is called CTE, Career Technical Education, and we have a really helpful link there on the bottom for you guys to explore for community colleges education in San Diego specifically. So it's a great one to take a look at. But essentially, many community colleges offer CTE education. So it gives students the opportunities to receive, certificates or degrees. So maybe like an associate's degree. So it's a 2-year degree option. It gives students job-ready skills in short period of time. So for example, some students may just go into a particular trade or field where they just need a certificate. And sometimes that can be up to 6 months or a year. But after that, they're going directly into the workforce. So that is a fantastic option and pathway if that is your desire to get short-term education and then go directly into the job force. Classes may qualify under the Promise program. So this is something to keep in mind if you're thinking of exploring a trade or a technical education piece program, because you can potentially get it covered, right? Those 2 years free with the Promise program, but also financial aid too. With some trades that's covered too, specifically if you do it at a community college. So if you're interested in exploring that, we would highly recommend you connect with us. We'd love to get you more resources to start seeing what trades or what careers you might be interested in so that you can see, oh, Palomar offers these programs, or oh, Miracosta has this specific trade that I want to start looking into, knowing you could potentially get it covered in cost as well. So some common ones you'll see is anything in the arts, business, computer and technology. Cosmetology is a big one that we have a lot of students who look into. Criminal justice, culinary, engineering, fire, EMT. That's a big one at Palomar as well. Palomar has a fantastic fire program and EMT program. Health and nursing, same thing. Palomar has a fantastic nursing program. Different trades, vocational trades, and veterinary options as well. So again, a lot of students get intimidated by, 2 years or 4-year colleges, but know that there are amazing pathways if you're looking to go CTE route and get that covered. And also, again, short-term education to then start directly into the workforce. Additionally, similar with that, military. The military offers a huge way for you to have benefits with education too, specifically. So often there's 2 pathways students might explore. They might look into going into the enlistment route, so graduating high school and then going directly to the military, or they might look at an ROTC route, officer route. So when we have conversations with students, we like to explore these options when they're thinking about the military, because either pathways are fantastic. You'll receive benefits for both. Healthcare, you'll receive educational benefits. You get a paycheck right away if you're going enlisted route. But exploring the ROTC route too allows you to start your education while signing that contract as well. So there's pros and cons to both. What we would recommend if military is something that you're thinking about, obviously get connected with a recruiter, but also ask others for support in that too. So maybe you have a family friend or a close friend who's been in the military who could speak to that. Just hearing about other people's experiences, specifically if they went ROTC or officer route, or if they went enlisted route, it can be really good to kind of hear their experience with that before you go into that. But essentially, you can earn money for college. You can get what's called the GI Bill, which allows you to have fully paid tuition and other bonuses and benefits as well. So it can be a fantastic avenue if you're not sure what you want to do and you want to serve your country well in that area. That would be an amazing opportunity. So if you have more questions about that too, please come see us. We have a lot of resources for that too. Obviously, we push a lot of, again, 4-year planning and 2-year colleges, but know that we are all really big advocates for the technical trades and career pathways, as well as military too. Okay, this is now Parchment. Back to these guys.
Back to me. These guys. All right. Mentioned earlier, if a college is going to require you to submit an official transcript, you will do that through parchment.com. Okay, we will remind you of this many times next year as seniors. But to get an official transcript, you have to set up an account with parchment.com. We're actually going to require this of all of you next year as seniors if you don't already have an account, because it's something that you will have available to you for life. So if you set up a parchment.com account, do not use your TCA Docs email. You want to use a personal email because this is yours for life, okay? Beyond your time here at Classical Academy High School. But at any point, even employers these days will sometimes require an official transcript. Community colleges require an official transcript. Four-year colleges require an official transcript, and you will get that through parchment.com. All right, some tips for success going forward. You can read through most of these on your own, but I did want to highlight a couple of them. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but go beyond. Take extra classes, not just the minimum requirements. Cannot stress that highly enough. Push yourselves. Again, find that balance next year where you're pushing yourself as much as you can handle well for this school year. Okay. Let's see. Surround yourself. I like this one. Be thinking about, your choice of friends and the people you're spending time with and the conversations you're having. Make sure you are talking with your parents. Make sure you're talking with us. Talk with teachers. You guys, you are so blessed and fortunate at our school, whichever campus. We meet with your teachers all the time. They love you guys. They care about you. They want you to succeed. They want to see you have a great future, as do we, by the way. But as do the security people, the people at the front desk, your principal. It is amazing. And so take advantage of that, right? Some of you guys have really cool friendships, relationships with your teachers and with us. So talk to us. We'd love to talk with you more about this and help you think through this. And also the friends you're around. Make sure you're around friends who are going to help you succeed here and then as you go into your future. And then start now and plan for summer. So summer can be a great time to not be bored by working on some of this stuff early, as well as maybe you can do a volunteer work in something that you're interested in, get a job, work on some of your college applications. Let us know if you want some ideas about that and want help with any of that. But just encourage you to make the most of that summertime. Okay. Some events through the year. We talked a little bit about this already. So next fall, you'll see all this advertised. We'll be having a college planning night in the early fall. We'll have a financial aid night where you'll find out about all things financial aid, including scholarships. We'll have a career fair in the winter at both campuses. We'll have people from Palomar and Miracosta coming on campus, and they will actually walk you through your application. So you'll be able to apply then and there with their help, and then they'll make sure you're all set for the Promise program, as well as registering for classes when that time comes. And then congratulations for being here or watching this later for the juniors college planning night. And then, like I said, we'll be having workshops during the fall, helping you with some of these things. If you ever have something that you wish we would talk more about, let us know. I would also add that for the websites thing earlier. Let us know if there's other websites that you find that are helpful. We're always looking for new ideas and ways that we can best help you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for attending tonight. We really appreciate everyone's time. We know it's a little later now, so thank you so much for that. We do have some resources up here. We do have our QR code for the studio counseling website up here. So if you do want to scan that, you can. I do believe everyone walked in. They got a little flyer here that allows you to scan it there as well. So you'll have the access to that. And then, yeah, this is we have Mrs. Fremstad, Mr. Deist. We have Miss Jen here. She's our counseling tech here at Studio. And then obviously Dr. Pepper. Everybody loves Dr. Pepper. So there's that. And then I'll just move forward to the next slide as well. Like I said, I handle last names A through K, and then Monica L through Z. This is the counseling website over for the PL campus as well. And we really highly recommend using the counseling website. They handle a lot of those questions, a lot of the resources, and you can also contact us there as well. So thank you so much again for being a great crowd, and we'll open it up for questions. Okay. I think we have one in the back. Yes.
Yeah, that's really your choice. You'll get great classes at both of our campuses. But if you want to find those classes where you can get college credit and high school credit at the same time, that's pretty cool, right? You're taking one class and you get college credit for it and high school credit. You could do that either through concurrent enrollment classes, like we talked about earlier. You could also do it through AP classes, right? Where you take AP classes at our schools or somewhere else. And then you can, by taking the AP exam and doing one on that in May, you can get the college credit for that one. Both are ways to get college credit, while also getting high school credit. There's kind of pros and cons. You're taking it with teachers here, it's a year long versus half a year long. Did I answer your question or not really?
No, well,
Try yes.
if they teach just in the admissions process at a university, they have college classes.
Yeah, okay, I think I know what you're saying. So, yeah, they want to see, when colleges are asked, what's the most important thing that you're looking for when you decide whether or not to admit a student? Any thoughts? They're looking for GPA. Okay, so how you're doing in school. And they're looking at the quality of classes that you're taking. Okay, so that's why we were stressing that earlier. So they aren't looking for a student who has a perfect GPA but took the easiest classes. They're looking for a student who has a really good GPA, but has pushed themselves academically. And one of the best ways to show that is by taking those upper level classes, the concurrent enrollment classes, the AP classes, and so on. So it can definitely be to your advantage in admissions to have those higher level classes, provided you're doing well in them, right? So you want both parts. Did I do better at answering your question that time? All right, 1 for 2, I'll take it. Yeah.
Yes, that's the requirement to apply for it. You don't have to be 18 when you apply, but as you start as a student, you be a full-time student, 18 and a resident of California. So by default, whenever you start going to college. Probably, yeah.
Got one.
No, wait for that.
Yeah. Yeah. got it.
So, I was wondering if you could comment on East Scout, which is a program that you guys have worked with online,
Yeah.
8-week classes. So there's grades that they issue for the class, and then you can request that have that transcript sent along to actually the school here, and then you guys, I guess, forward those.
Yeah, so we'll put those grades on our transcripts. When it's from a place like UC Scout or another high school or another accredited program. You just want to check with us ahead of time and make sure that we will do that. But yeah, we'll give you credits for that on our transcript and count that towards your graduation requirements here. When you're applying to colleges, you'll send our application, obviously. But typically you also want to have any other transcript sent in for the application, okay? So if you took portions through Palomar or UC Scout, you would request those transcripts to be sent as well.
My follow-up question on that is, let's say, student didn't get an A in that online class, but got a 5 on the AP. What's more important?
So the AP exams are just for getting the college credit. Okay, you can put that information on an application, but generally speaking, AP exams are totally separate from the class and the grade you get in the class. Okay, so the AP exam score, you're reporting that just so you can get the college credit for it. But what goes on your transcript and what the colleges are looking at for admissions is a grade that you got. It's not a transcript, it's just it's an AP exam score that they use to determine whether at each college they have their own rules. Some colleges say Hey, you need a 4 or a 5 on the AP exam in order to get college credit, others will say if you get 3 or higher.
Yeah, it's considered separate and it's sent via college board as well, so you're gonna send your AP scores via college board, whereas your high school transcript will be a direct reflection of the classes taken within the high school. And your AP exam scores don't get sent until the end of your senior year, when you've already decided which college you're going to. So your AP scores are only getting sent to the college where you're enrolled.
How did you take it with the junior?
Right, but you, as a junior, you don't report your AP scores.
You still don't report them for the application process. Yeah.
If there's a place on the application where you can say all the 5s and 4s you got on your AP exams, I would put it on there, it can't hurt. Okay, but it's not part of the application process, so. There's that question back there.
Okay.
Great, well, first of all, I'll put it in plug, come to the financial aid seminar next year, we'll talk a lot more about that. Grants and scholarships are both really good, because they are free money, you never have to pay that money back. Okay, so versus a loan that you have to pay back, or work study where you actually have to work to get the money. Okay, grants and scholarships, free money. There's some overlap, but as a general rule, scholarships are something that you qualify for because of something that you're good at or that you've done. Okay, you get scholarships for your GPA, for being good at a sport or drama or music or something like that. Okay, grants, generally speaking, are more based on financial need. Okay, but there is overlap on some of those. Some grants, you have to have a high enough GPA, some scholarships, you have to have financial need. So it's not exactly like that, but again, both of them are free money, so really good.
Yeah, that's a great question because I know for myself, I qualified for the Pell Grant here in the state of California. And that's because my parents didn't make, they didn't make enough, they didn't make a lot of money, right? So we qualified for that and it really helped me throughout my 4 years in college. So that's the Pell Grant. So you'll realize if you qualify for that or not via the FAFSA application as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But yeah, the grants are phenomenal and much easier as far as the application process goes, and it's part of the FAFSA.
So that's another plug for completing the FAFSA next year. Families, even if you make a lot of money, just realize that the vast majority of people are qualifying for some financial aid by filling out the FAFSA. It's 99% of the time worth filling out. And Mr. Henry mentioned, like, some people, as a rule of thumb, fill it out by December 2. Another rule of thumb they talk about is you'll want to complete the FAFSA around the time your first college applications are due. So if you're applying like to UCs and Cal States, you'll want to finish your FAFSA sometime around or by November 30. Okay, so just be thinking about that, but realize we're going to talk a lot more about that at the financial aid seminar next year and sharing more information about that with you.
And there's one more thing. Keep FAFSA in mind too. They say the application still has to open up October 1st, and then they opened it up like 5 days before that. And I actually found out through a student that it opened up. So just keep that in mind, but obviously, get it.
I was just wondering if you guys have any information about 2027, whether they're gonna send out the CSU like automatic eligibility information, where everybody in this class will just automatically receive a letter about like colleges they are eligible for, like guaranteed admission.
I'm not too familiar with that exact process, but I can tell you Cal State San Marcos has an agreement with certain cities surrounding it. So I know Cal State San Marcos, if you have above a 3.0 GPA and you come within like San Marcos, Escondido, Vista, Oceanside, then you get granted admission if you come to the Discover CSUSN event. So they have a great event at Cal State San Marcos. I think it's called like Discover CSUSN. Can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure that's it. But if you show up and you have an application filled in within a week prior to that event, and you bring your high school transcript with you, they'll give you admission on the spot. So I know there's that. I don't know.
Yeah, and our school doesn't have an agreement like that, like some of the bigger public schools do. However, if you have above a 3.0 from Classical Academy High School and you apply to Cal State San Marcos, you're gonna get into Cal State San Marcos if you meet the admissions requirements, so. Yeah, there is stuff that's coming down that we're not having to do yet. But yes, that is coming, and we actually have a hidden slide on here that's gonna cover some of that. but it hasn't been formalized yet, so come to next year's and we'll tell you all about it. So,
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I think, yeah, I think
Oh, great question. So there's gonna be like weighted GPAs and unweighted GPAs. And so typically the weighted GPA is what you're using within the college application. So within it's usually what you'll put for like Mr. Dyson over, it's on a 4.0 scale. But for example, for your student specifically within like the GPA scale, and if it's meeting like a 4.1 or a 4.2, 4.3, it's probably a matter of the student having taken AP courses, or a matter of those specific AP courses being on a 5.0 weighted scale. So that's what you're seeing as far as above a 4.0 GPA. It will be shown on the high school transcript, correct? Yeah. Correct, so you do a request with us and then we send it out to the college. Correct, yeah, so.
just really quickly, the whole 4.0, 5.0, if you didn't quite follow that, just realize that most classes are on a 4.0 scale, so you get an A, you get 4 points. So I hear somebody with a 4.0 GPA, they have a straight A average, right? These are 3 points and so on. For the AP classes, for concurrent enrollment classes, and for honors classes, that gets bumped up to a 5.0 scale. Okay, so now an A is worth 5.0, that's why you're people with a 4.9 GPA, all right, they're taking mostly those kind of classes, so. But as far as what colleges are looking for, they're gonna let you know in the application if they want you to report a weighted GPA or unweighted GPA. Don't worry about that, it's reported on your transcript with us, and you'll be able to find that on Calpro. Okay, anybody else?
And we're gonna sit around for a little bit too, if we do have any individual questions as well. Okay.
All right, thank you all.